All right, and welcome everybody to the B&H virtual event space. Right now we have with us award-winning lifestyle family and newborn photographer, Elena S. Blair. She's here to give us insight into how to use Instagram for your photography business. Elena, I know we have a packed presentation today, so really looking forward to this. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Just making sure you can see everything and you can see me, I'm assuming, right?
Yep, everything looks perfect.
All right, cool. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, B&H, for having me. I love working with B&H. My favorite part is usually the traveling to New York part, which we have not been able to do, but we got to hand it to B&H for really picking up right where we left off and bringing it to the virtual space, and I think that's something to be really proud of. So thank you for including me in that process. It's been really fun to work with you guys. So I'm excited to talk today about Instagram. Instagram made easy for photographers is what I'm calling this presentation. It's going to be a very actionable webinar. So what I'm hoping that you all do, that all of you that are joining me right now, is to give me this next 30 minutes, turn off any notifications, bring down anything that's going to bog down your streaming, your internet service. So maybe close Facebook and all of that stuff that's probably also open in your browser right now. And just focus up for the next 30 minutes because time is your most valuable currency and you have decided to show up here, so show up for yourself in a really big way. All right, since this is an Instagram class, let's get on the app right now together. I want you to, and I know I just told you not to be distracted, but this is the one thing I do want you to do. I want you to get onto Instagram right now. I want you to go into my most recent post, and there I want you to comment. I want you to share because I am doing a big giveaway at the end of this class. So I just want you to get on Instagram. We're going to start creating a very amazing cooperative business development collaboration on this post, and we'll talk a lot more about that in a moment. So before I go any further, who the heck am I? As introduced, my name is Elena S. Blair. I am a lifestyle, family, and newborn photographer based out of Seattle, Washington. I'm still very much in the business. I photographed 180 families in 2019 and nearly 100 last year, despite the pandemic. So I am very much knee-deep in running a profitable and very busy lifestyle, family, and newborn business. I have an online education platform where we reach thousands of photographers every single day, helping them to realize their dreams. I really do feel like photography is a calling, and if I can do it, you can do it. So I run my little empire out of most of the time my dining room. I am in the home office right now, but it's a lot of fun. It's something that I feel very passionate about, and I feel very lucky to be able to work with other photographers from all over the world. But most of the time, you will find me right here, piled with children on top of me. I have 3 children that I birthed myself and a stepdaughter. So we've got 4 kids at home. We are all homeschooling right now, although the little ones did just go back this week. So those of you at home right now that have lots of things going on in your households, I get it. So I like to just share that part that I'm also doing very much doing the work of being a mother as well. So it's very meaningful for me to have a business that runs outside of my home because I think that my children get to see every single day what it is that provides for them, and I really feel proud about that. So I want you, when I say raise your hand or when I ask for interaction during an online course, normally I love being in rooms with people. And since we're not in the room together, I want you to raise your virtual hand. So if any of the things that I'm saying resonate, I want you to get into that chat box wherever you're watching right now and let us know how you feel. I also want you to take this opportunity to share a little bit about yourself. Tell me who you are. Tell us what part of the world you're in. I think it's one of the most fascinating things about online education is you can see that we have connections with people all over the world. So it's really fun to do that as well. But I want you to raise your virtual hand if you feel like Instagram is a popularity contest and a highlight reel. And you don't want to be part of it. That's all you're seeing is the popularity contest. Everybody's showing you their best latte selfie, just kind of like the one I'm showing you right here. And, it's a major highlight reel, and you don't want to be part of that popularity contest. Or maybe you're feeling overwhelmed because you became a photographer and all of a sudden you realized, okay, so now I'm also a web designer, a graphic designer, a marketing director, a personal assistant, an email list writer. I mean, all of the things, an editor. You have this huge list of things that you have to do now that you've taken on photography. And posting on Instagram is the last thing that you want to do because you don't want to be part of that popularity contest. You don't want to waste your time. And so you're feeling very overwhelmed by all of us educators who are telling you that you need to use Instagram. Does that sound very familiar to anybody in here? Or maybe you just feel like Instagram is a big waste of your time because let's face it, It is a huge time suck. When you get on Instagram, if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a plan, you can, before you know it, lose an hour of your life and not even know what you were consuming. So I get that if that's how you feel. If you feel like Instagram is a huge waste of your time, I know exactly what you're talking about. Or maybe you just feel like you're never going to book any clients on Instagram because you simply haven't yet. And you're like, well, I'm hearing all these other people tell me that it's working, but it's not working for me. So this is a big waste of my time. I'm never going to book any clients. Does any of that sound like you? Because if it does, you're in the right place, because we're going to get rid of all of these limiting beliefs, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I use Instagram. So Instagram is a powerful tool for your photography business. There's no getting around it. It really is one of the most modern and easiest and free ways to market your business. If you enjoy spending time on Instagram, then it's a good choice for your business. It's that simple. There are lots and lots of platforms, and in the next slide, I'm getting ahead of myself, I know this. There are lots of platforms to market your business on, and there's not just one that you have to use. So any educator out there that says Instagram is the only way to market your business, that's not true. That's not true at all. But if you're already spending time there, then you may as well use it for your business. You may as well use it with intention. You may as well stop wasting all that time. When people tell me they don't have time, I call their bluff. I've got 4 kids. I'm a single mom. I now have a partner, but I was a single mom for 3 years. I have very limited time. I just use it really well. So if we start using Instagram for your business and stop wasting time, I promise it's going to work for you. But here's the thing. Like I said, if you don't like Instagram and Instagram feels like a really negative thing, get through this webinar and then maybe you're going to decide that it's not right for your business. But if you're watching this, I have a feeling that you enjoy Instagram. It's somewhere that you spend time, and it is that simple. If you like Instagram for your personal use, you can use it for your business as well. So Instagram, though, even though it's not the only way to market your business, it's a pretty darn perfect photographer platform. It's pretty great for photographers. Well, why? The obvious is it's visual. We are visual artists as photographers. One of the main ways to market our business, part of the ways that we market our business, is to show our work, right? You want to get your work out into the world so that people see it and choose to work with you. Well, that's what Instagram does, right? Instagram is a visual platform. So if you're a photographer and you're a visual artist and you're trying to show your art to people, Instagram is a really great way to do that. There are over 500 million active daily users, which means that your clients are on Instagram no matter who your clients are. Period, end of story. 500 million active daily users, your people are there. You just have to speak to them and find them. And we're going to talk about that. So it's visual, and there's a ton of people on the app all the time. And I haven't looked recently into the stats. Sometimes I get really into like the time that people spend, but I mean, it's somewhere, people spend somewhere like up to 4 to 8 hours a day on social media. So your people are already on Instagram consuming content. So it is a very effective way to find your people. However, the way that we use it as photographers is very different from other influencers who offer online services. So you may be seeing lots of, and I am an educator as well. We are all out there trying to help people, but you have to make sure that you're getting advice from somebody who knows where you're trying to go, right? So people who sell something online, they're using Instagram to keep people online, right? They want you to go from the app to stay online. They really literally can make money while sitting, like the person can stay on the phone on their and go to their service and buy it and then come back to the app. So they don't have to get them off of the Instagram. Or somebody who is an affiliate marketer, so somebody who's using Instagram to make money on stuff that they're wearing or products that they're selling. Again, they don't need their customer to leave the app. We as photographers have a little bit more of a challenge and something that is a little more unique. We need our potential clients to first go off the app to however it is that you get your clients, your website, an email list, whatever. So we need to get them off the app. But then we have to take it to the next step. We actually have to see them in real life, in person. They have to trust us enough to leave the internet and go somewhere in real life and see you. So this is actually a totally different strategy than what most online influencers and educators are talking about, because you really do have to find a way to get your clients to know, like, and trust you so that they will let you see them in real life and take their pictures. we've got to get them off. We got to get them off the app and in front of our camera. That's a big like think about how much more of a personal thing that is than somebody who is selling something online. And I actually happen to do both. I don't do the influencer stuff, but I sell classes online and I also take photos, right? So I have two different strategies for both of those things. It's much easier to sell classes online than to get someone off the app and in front of my camera. But I get on average 150 people a year in front of my lens, so I do know how to do this. My social media strategy has been the same since I started using Instagram for my business. It's algorithm proof, to be honest with you. I just opened up my business Instagram account, let's see, 6 years ago, I think. I was doing a personal one before, and I've grown my following very much organically. I've never bought followers. I don't play into any of the, tagging a bunch of big brands to try to get them to share my work. I actually have worked on growing my community myself, and it works. No matter what changes with the algorithm, it works. I don't like to talk about beating the algorithm because I believe that that's not possible. None of us know what is actually happening behind the scenes, right? Like it's like coding and all this stuff. So you don't want to come up with a quick fix strategy that's going to beat the algorithm. You need to learn how to work with it. Okay, so why should you trust me about teaching you about Instagram? I'm going to back up for a minute before I go any further with any more information. There's a lot of online educators right now. It's a good thing, but you definitely always want to know that who you're working with has the knowledge that you want to receive. So about 2 years ago, I received an email from Facebook headquarters. And I thought it was a lie. I thought it was like a total, I'm so glad I responded because I thought that it was somebody, catfishing me. And they said, hello, this is, so-and-so from Facebook headquarters. And if you don't know this, Facebook owns Instagram. And they said, we have been watching your social media use, Facebook and Instagram, for the past 6 months. And we have found that your engagement is way higher than average, and that you are converting people into clients by getting them off of the apps. They actually were noticing that my followers were leaving the app, and they then started to ask me about my strategy. I said, how is this possible? I'm little old me. My following isn't that huge. I don't have like 100,000 followers on Instagram. I don't have 100,000 followers on Facebook, but I have a highly engaged community. And they asked me to come in and be a speaker, to speak to the engineers at Facebook, to tell them how I was using Instagram and how I was essentially working with the algorithm and making it work for my business. This was a huge pinch me moment, but I am telling you this not to brag, because I'm telling you this to let you know that what I do actually works, and it works so well that Facebook and Instagram noticed. So guess what? Let's just get rid of this belief right away. A high following does not mean that you have a successful photography business. Period. End of story. A high following does not mean that you have money in your bank account. A high following does not mean that you're actually taking clients. That is the popularity contest of Instagram. That is a bunch of, I'm going to try not to say bad words. It's a bunch of BS, right? It's not a good thing. It's not good to get caught up in that. I actually know a lot of people who have high followings on Instagram and really aren't making a profit, really aren't bringing in clients. They're doing a lot of, their strategy is totally different. If you are a portrait photographer, weddings, commercial, family, newborn like me, full time is like 50 to 200 shoots a year. If you're a commercial photographer, it's even less than that. If you're a wedding photographer, 52 shoots would be once a week. That'd be way too many, it'd be a lot. But those numbers are very small when you're thinking about the amount of people that you're actually trying to reach online. And Instagram's only going to be part of your strategy. So if you really only need to bring 50 people in front of your lens, 20 might feel like full-time for you. Then why are you worried about having a K next to your name or 200,000 or whatever? It doesn't matter. It does not mean that you have a successful photography business. So please let go of that stress. You do not need to get caught up in the popularity contest that can be Instagram. You don't have to beat the algorithm, and I'm not sure you actually can. You can work with it though. There maybe isn't a way to beat it. Now here's the thing about Instagram. It literally changes every single day. Those engineers are working constantly. And you've probably noticed that your app updates and all of a sudden buttons are in a different place. There's a feature that everyone's talking about. It's mind-boggling, right? And it can get very overwhelming if you're sitting there trying to beat something that you probably really can't ever beat. But you definitely can work with it. And the Instagram and Facebook people notice that I am able to work with it. So I promise these very simple strategies work. So if you have a plan, if you have a strategy on how you're going to use Instagram, you will actually spend less time on Instagram. Thank goodness. So back up at the beginning, I was talking about how a lot of people will say, I'm so overwhelmed. I have so much to do. Getting on Instagram is the very last thing I want to do for my business. It's a huge waste of time. But I bet my hunch is going to telling me that you're probably already on Instagram wasting time. So how about you have a plan and you spend less time on Instagram and you come up with meaningful Instagram interactions. So when I'm on Instagram, and my partner actually always teases me because, I actually tease him. He'll be like being triggered by somebody's account. He's like, oh, this person's so annoying, whatever. That never happens to me. I get on Instagram at particular times a day to interact meaningfully with my community, to engage my community, to make sure that I'm nurturing my community on Instagram. And then I enjoy it. It feels good, and I leave, and I don't come back. And I'm going to tell you how we do that in a second. So here are my 3 Instagram foundations. These are the 3 things that I have been focusing on since the beginning of my Instagram use, that I focus on above any new features, above any algorithm updates, above any of the myths that fly around out there. People will say, oh, I've been shadow banned, blah, 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 all this stuff. That stuff, there's never really any proof that any of that's actually true. It's just that your content isn't getting seen because it's not relevant anymore. So if you focus on these 3 things, you will be able to have long-term Instagram success. I want to tell you one other thing though. This is not a quick fix. I'm never ever going to be an educator that gets on and says, you do these things and you're going to have XYZ results. This is a long-term strategy. Instagram is part of your marketing strategy. It cannot be the only way that you reach clients, but it is one of the effective ways. So first is quality. Your Instagram account is a mini digital portfolio. It is an extension of your website. It should feel like your website, and you should only be sharing high quality images on Instagram. A dated strategy, in my opinion, is to use social media just for sneak peeks. And why this ends up being a problem is that you are, in that sense, relying on your clients for your marketing. You're relying on your clients to share, but also a lot of times people share subpar work because they feel like they must share a sneak peek of every session. And let's be real, we're humans. Not every session is going to be portfolio worthy. It is just the way that it is, right? Full disclosure, right? So you want to make sure whatever that you're sharing on Instagram is high quality and is exactly what it is you would like to attract. Instagram has also become an industry standard of professionalism. So I want you to think of it as an extension of your portfolio. So when I go to a conference, or when I go to B&H in person, or when I go anywhere that I'm talking about my business, people do not ask for business cards anymore. They ask you for your Instagram account. I don't even have business cards anymore that I carry. Now, maybe some of you are going to say, that's not true. That's not the end all. Everything that I say is not the end all, but it's definitely what I've noticed. The other thing is that often, this actually just happened to me on the school playground last week. Somebody asked me what I did for a living. I said that I was a photographer, and they said, oh, I would love to see your work. I pull up Instagram. It's this instant mini portfolio, and she follows me. Now she gets to start watching my work, and she has a direct way to access me, and it's quick. Because why? Because everyone's on Instagram. So it's when I say everyone, of course, it's not everyone, but you know what I mean. 500 million people, so that's a lot of people, are on Instagram. So it is an easy way for you to share your portfolio and an easy way for people to start getting to know your work. I believe that quality over quantity is the name of the game. Now, back in the day when Instagram was chronological, I don't know if any of you remember that, but it used to be where when you opened up your app, you saw in real time what people were posting. And in that time, it did make more sense to post more often because you needed to be like showing up on people's feeds when they were on, and you couldn't predict when they were on. But now the algorithm that everyone gets so mad about is actually working in your favor because it's not showing your work to everyone at the same time. Your piece that you just shared yesterday may not show up in someone's feed until like 5 days from now. So what's important is that you have high quality posts over a ton of low quality posts. So quality over quantity. So I just wanted to show you how my Instagram is very much an extension of my portfolio. So this is just a screen grab of my online newborn portfolio, like on my website, ElenaSBlair.com. And this is just a very current, I think this is just last week's worth of Instagram. So if you can see, going back and forth, they look the same, right? They feel the same is more what I mean. They feel the same. If you went to my website, popped over to my portfolio, or to my Instagram, and then felt like you wanted to go to my website, it feels the same because it really is a true extension of your portfolio, and it should be a standard of professionalism for you. The next part of my foundation is consistency. So I do mentoring, I do lots of teaching and educating, and I will go look at people's Instagram accounts after they tell me Instagram's not working for me, social media is not working for me, and I look at their Instagram account and they haven't posted in 3 months, or they posted like twice in the last year, or they went through like a stint where they posted every day for a week and then they didn't post again for 6 weeks. Very inconsistent. What I do know about the algorithm, and any algorithm, by the way, Google, Facebook, Instagram, all the algorithms are very similar, is that it wants its users to see relevant content. And when I say it's a bot, right? Like, or whatever the code is that's deciding what gets shown when people open up Instagram. And if an account is inconsistent, it doesn't feel like that is relevant. It's not relevant content. So you have to be posting consistently. Now, people will say, well, I can't, I don't have time. And I love to use this as an example because this is a perfect example, totally unrelated to photography or Instagram, but completely the same philosophy and idea. I was listening to a life coach on a podcast, and he was talking about how he had a client who had all of these goals into having a better year. And one of her goals was to start running again. She had stopped running completely. And she said, my goal is to run 5 days a week. And he said, okay, well, let's get that on the calendar. Let's start doing that then. And she said, well, I can't. I don't have time to run 5 days a week. And he said, all right, well, then let's start with 1 day a week and work our way up. And she said, well, what's the point? If I can't run 5, then there's no point. That doesn't make any sense, right? 1 is better than 5. So you have to create a routine that's doable. If 5 times a week, 7 times a week, 3 times a week sounds like too much, figure something out that's going to be doable for you. Usually I tell my students to start at 2 to 3 times a week and work their way up, because as you start seeing positive interactions and you start seeing your community grow, it'll be rewarding and you'll want to do it more. But you've got to be consistent because the algorithm is going to notice if you're not. So consistency is really important. Posting in real time is a waste of your time. It is the biggest waste of your time. Scheduling is going to change everything for you. I never, ever, ever post in real time. So tell me if this sounds familiar. You're like, all right, I figured out how to get this high resolution photo on my phone. So I got it here. It's a good one. I'm really proud of it. And you open up Instagram at like noon on a Tuesday with zero plan about what you're going to say. And you hold it there and the cursor is just blinking at you. And you're like, oh gosh, what am I going to say? I don't know what to say about this session. I hardly remember what happened. Whatever. And then what happens? Either you post something that's pretty low quality, meaning that the caption is just like, swoon, look at my cute baby client that I had this last week, which, by the way, those kinds of posts don't do well. Or you just don't post at all because you get stuck. You get stuck with that like overwhelm. Scheduling is going to change everything for you. I use an online scheduler called later.com. I'm not getting any kickback from them. There's tons of other ones out there. Planoly is one that I know of as well. They all have free options. And what this does is it allows you to post from your computer, which is a huge way to save time. It allows you to easily get those high resolution photos off of your hard drive and onto Instagram, which is one of the roadblocks for a lot of people. And it allows you to have a plan, have a strategy. Okay, I'm going to schedule those 3 posts this week and I'm going to get them up and going, and then you can walk away. You don't have to, it'll auto post them for you, or it'll remind you and tell you how to do it from your phone. So if there's one thing that you learned today, stop posting in real time. It's a huge waste. Start scheduling. It's going to change everything for you and it's going to help you to be more consistent. Now, finally, the last piece of my foundation, the last layer, I don't know what you would call it, is connection. This is the most important part. This is why Instagram and Facebook noticed my account, because I have really high engagement. So I don't know how to beat the algorithm. Nobody does. If they tell you they do, they're lying. But one thing that I do know, and that the engineers did tell me, is that Instagram will prioritize posts and stories and whatever content that you're sharing that has engagement. So that has people liking, commenting, sharing, saving, all of the ways that you can engage with a post. And how do you make somebody engage with your post? You connect with them. And connection is at the very It's the most important part of my strategy. You must inspire this. You must inspire them to engage with you. And if you're not creating content that they want to engage with, if you create content that's just going to be another pretty photo that goes, on the internet and never gives you any, no one ever responds to it or gives any feedback, then it's not gonna help your business. So you have to do this by connecting. When you create connection, you create a high quality following who you can convert to paying clients. So it's not just any clients either. It's clients who are really going to love working with you because you have allowed them to get to know you, to like you, so that they trust you enough to let you take their photos. But you can't do that without connecting to them. Being a good photographer, it isn't enough. Nobody's going to market your business for you. Sorry, Charlie, but they're not. And a lot of people will be, have this feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm really great. I've got my work figured out. I know what type of work I would like to do. I know that what I want to launch my business. I'm super talented, but nobody's coming to my business. Well, because you have to market yourself. You do have to spend time doing this. A good friend of mine, I was in a clubhouse room with him last week, and he said, if you don't market your business right now, you won't have a business in 5 years. And so you have to be forward thinking. So even right now, while you're revving things up and getting things going with your business, you must be marketing and thinking ahead. Being a good artist isn't enough. Oh, are you guys there? Any supporters are good for your brand. Hi, Mom. This is another little, thing that I like to debunk about Instagram. So a lot of people will say, well, all of my followers, I only have 40 followers and half of them are my family and half of them are other photographers. How is that ever going to bring me clients? I'm gonna tell you. So the algorithm wants to see that an account has engagement. And if an account has engagement, it will start showing you in the suggestions feed, it will start showing you into the hashtag searches that people are doing, all of that. Any engagement, the algorithm doesn't notice, oh, that's her grandma commenting every single time. I'm not going to show this when someone says Seattle family photographer, right? It doesn't know that. It just wants to have engagement. So again, think about this. You really only need 20, 40, 50, however many clients you're trying to book a year, right? Not many. So it's okay if not everyone on there is a potential client. In fact, you don't want everyone on there to be a potential client. So any supporter is good for your brand and it's going to help boost you in the algorithm. You have a story worth hearing, I promise. A lot of people, one of their biggest reservations about Instagram is that they feel like their life is too boring, that they don't want to be, personal, they don't want to share things about themselves. But I promise what you have to share is going to resonate with your ideal client, and that is what is going to set you apart from the crowd, set you apart from your peers. So we're all photographing the same genres, we're using the same equipment, some of us are using the same actions, right? What's going to set you apart is you. And connecting on Instagram is a really great way to shake someone's hand, say hello, or I guess we should say elbow bump nowadays, but Instagram is a great way for you to introduce yourself and your brand to your potential clients so that they are willing to work with you, so that they know you, like you, and trust you. So the final thing that I want to just address really quickly is that people will say, oh, but do I have to use and learn all the features, especially with all of the craze about Reels right now? The short answer is no, you don't. It's better to use Instagram in a way that feels good to you than not using it at all. So don't get overwhelmed with all of the features. Use what features feel good to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You just need to show up consistently and connect to your clients. And the final thing that people always ask me about is hashtags. People really, really want to learn about how to use hashtags. So I have a free download for you, and it's called Hashtag 101, which gives you my hashtag strategy. It's super simple. It works. And hashtags are sort of like Instagram's search engine in a way, right? So people find me all the time by searching Seattle newborn photographer, Seattle family photographer, Seattle maternity photographer. And so they find me and I come up at the top because I have really high engagement. So hashtags is a really effective way to meet your clients. And so you can find this download at bit.ly-hashtag_101. And also make sure that you are popping over to Instagram right now and joining the giveaway. I have a giveaway. I'm giving away 3 of my my big full Instagram classes. And it's the most recent post. I want to see you. I want to get to know you. And this is how we start creating engagement, because then people will see your account and head over to your account. So it's kind of a lot of back and forth. And now I'm going to open it up to questions. Does anyone have any questions?
Awesome, Elena. Thank you so much. That was a ton of great information. Yeah, we do have a bunch of questions, so I want to jump over to those. Okay, so we have a question from Tech on Facebook. He's asking, how many photos from a shoot would you upload?
So the way that I do it is later.com lets you have like a bank of photos. And so when I think of it, I don't always think of it after shoots. I am pretty high volume, especially in the fall. But when I'm getting ready for my content strategy, I'll just go to a gallery and pick, 5 or 10 that I like. I do not share sneak peeks though. I share them sporadically, all, randomly, depending on what it is that I'm trying to book. So like right now, if you head over to my Instagram, you'll see that it's winter in Seattle, and it is not a great time for outdoor photos, which is how I do my family photos. So right now I'm really sharing a lot of newborn photography because I am trying to bring that in. But some of the newborn shoots that I'm sharing are from like a year ago or 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. You can reuse old content. So I would say it just depends on how many you love from that session. And it has to be work that really is true to who you are as an artist.
Awesome. And Sally, who's joining us on on Zoom, is asking, do you have to get written permission to use images of children in your website and presentations?
Do you have to get what permission?
Do
Oh,
you have to get
written? Yes.
permission? Yeah.
1000%. Absolutely. You need to have a legal model release to share images anytime. Yes.
Okay, great to know.
Mhm.
Madeline says, if you do fine artwork, can't someone right click on the Instagram image and pick it up off the internet as a file? That's why I don't post my full images.
So this is an age-old question. I'm 12 years into the business now, almost. This used to be when I started. 12 years is a long time too, by the way. I don't know if you guys know this about the photography industry is sort of like fickle. A lot of people come and go. And in the beginning, back in the day, back in the old days, I'm dating myself, we used to get really kind of worried, kind of sound like how you are, a little bit worried about that because it's true. Yes, absolutely. When you share things online, they can be stolen, and my work gets stolen all the time. It is just kind of comes with the territory. Unfortunately, we run online businesses. I do bake into the metadata of my business stuff, and if I ever find out about it, we go and we send them a letter. I've never actually had to get to the lawyer point. Most people will take it down right away. But I don't worry about it. I don't worry about my competition. That's not why my business thrives, and I don't care if somebody takes it. I mean, I don't want them to. It's illegal to do that. It's just not something I get caught up in. And you'll notice probably that most of us that are industry professionals and industry experts are sharing our work online without worrying about it. You just sort of have to accept it. It just sort of comes with the territory, unfortunately.
Yeah, awesome. Elizabeth is asking, you mentioned engagement, but what is that? How do you do it? By your comments you make or your followers?
Yeah. Okay. And this is a quick class, right? So that's why it's hard for me I had to like pick the nuggets that I was going to share with you guys. I have a full course, which I'm giving away 3 that I go into really deeply how to write captions that will engage. But what I want you to think about, what did you say her name was? I like to speak to people.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Okay. Elizabeth, what I want you to think about is who it is that you're trying to reach. So for me, I am trying to reach mothers. Moms are who book my sessions. I'm a family and newborn photographer. I don't do anything else. I don't do weddings or anything. And so when I'm writing a caption, I feel like I'm speaking directly to her. So I will talk about some of the, the difficulties of having a newborn in the house, or I get how hard it is right now be, homeschooling, but it's such a, whatever ways that you can connect to your ideal client. And it is usually with the caption. So Instagram is twofold. You connect with the photo or the video and with the words, either that you're speaking, if it's a video, or that you're typing. And there are people that use it for both. There's some people that only want the visual, and there's some people that really are there for the words. The hope is to get them to want to do both. So high quality photo, and then think about a caption that is going to inspire engagement. So ask a question at the end. You can say double tap if this resonates with you. Make sure you share these tips that I'm giving you for preparing for your session. Inviting engagement, really actually making sure to call them to action is really important as well.
Perfect. Now we had a few people asking about the scheduler. So Fred is saying, I thought Instagram did not allow scheduled posts and posting from your computer. When did it change? And then we have a couple of people asking if you can reshare the name of the scheduler that you use.
Instagram's never not let us schedule posts. So that is not true. So that's good news for you. And it depends. So it depends on which scheduler you use, and it depends on what you're doing for your strategy. I use Later, like Later, later.com. Again, I'm not getting any kickback from them. And they have two options. They have one where it will push it for you. So literally, it just goes to Instagram. Some people like to do it themselves, and so what it will do is it'll send you a little notification on your phone and say this post is ready to go, and you literally open it to Instagram, and the picture's there, and the caption is in your clipboard, so you just copy and paste it really easily. So it's super quick. I actually do have it pushed to Instagram because I am all about efficiency. I am very busy, and so when I schedule my posts, I want to make sure that they're going off into the ether in case I forget. That being said, I do really like to engage with my people who follow my call to action, so who comment, like and share. And so I will go in a couple times a day and make sure that I reply to all of the comments that show up on my Instagram account.
Awesome. And so Jim is asking, I guess, along the lines of, continuing with that engagement, how do you know what to write or post that will resonate? Is it just trial and error?
So this is such a, I love talking about this, but it's like, I can get really,
Yeah.
can get really too deep and complicated. But I can't tell you what your clients want to hear, right? So what you have to do is think about who it is that you're trying to work with. So if say you're a wedding photographer, I'm trying to go like outside of my industry. Say you're a wedding photographer. Well, you're probably trying to connect with brides, right? So how can you write content that is going to be relevant for them? Maybe what are they worried about right now? They might be worried about weather, what they're going to do if it rains on their wedding day. They might be worried about how to find a dress on a budget. If that's your client, maybe your client is not one that's going to spend $30,000 on their wedding. Or maybe your client is worried about COVID right now, and she wants to know how her wedding is going to go with you as her photographer with COVID procedures. So you're thinking about what it is that your ideal client needs from you, what problems they have, and you solve them with a little simple caption. One of the best ways to connect, though, and to create engagement on Instagram is to share a photo of yourself and tell a little bit of something about yourself. And a lot of people who are photographers are like, no, I don't go on that side of the lens. I don't want to show up in Instagram. But unfortunately, that is probably the most effective way to connect with your clients. There's a lot of photographers out there. I don't think that's a bad thing. I know there's enough business for all of us. What sets you apart is you. And I would like to challenge anyone who's watching this right now to today or this week, post a photo of themselves and post something, like something about you, maybe like what you like to eat for lunch, or it can be even more personal than that. I share a lot about motherhood, and you will find that your engagement on that post is probably like 5 times more than your other posts.
Really
So yeah, so that's the best way to engage. Show your mug.
Really great tip. Mimi on live stream asks, can you address how you balance the two aspects of your business? So the photographer education and the client side, do you have separate strategies and accounts? I know you touched on it a little bit before.
Sure. Yeah, my business is multifaceted. So I also have a boutique school photography segment of my business, and I do not have multiple accounts. And actually, most times I don't advise that you do, because for me, my brand is me. It's not just my brand is not just my work, my brand is myself. So when I am, what I teach is how to be a newborn and family photographer. So I talk a lot about my newborn strategy, and that is speaking to my education clients, right? Because I'm talking to them about this is how I approach posing newborns. But then in turn, a mom who wants my style of newborn photography, which is very unposed, no props, is going to see that as well. And so it actually hits them both. So, and then when I share about myself, like personal posts about myself, which I do quite often, I'm also speaking to both of my businesses, right? Because I'm sharing who I am as a person, and that is why you want me as your photographer, and that is why you want me as your educator, or why you don't want me. So I don't usually advise to have them separate, mostly because when people have separate accounts, it's overwhelming and they don't use them. But also because your brand is you. You are your brand. So that's how I do it.
Awesome. And Amanda's asking, is Instagram more effective than Facebook?
They are different. I didn't talk about Facebook on here because this is about Instagram. I use them both, and they're both very effective. I just try not to overwhelm people during one talk. So Instagram is an incredible. My strategy for Instagram and Facebook are totally different. Instagram is an incredible way to build community. It is an incredible way for people to get to know you and your work, and they engage there on Instagram. People like to stay on Instagram. Facebook we use for driving traffic to my websites. So all of our Facebook posts have links to go, and that's one of the things that's really great about Facebook. You can't do that on Instagram. You can't share a link in your post, and you can't share a link in stories until you have 10,000 followers. So Instagram, people tend to sort of stay on Instagram, which is why engagement is really important. Facebook, we share a blurb, and then we push them back to my website, and it's really great. Facebook is still one of my #1 traffic drivers, actually. I use them differently. I know some people have similar strategies for both. I actually feel for my business, it is better to use them differently.
Awesome. Now we have a couple questions about if you're trying to use Instagram for not necessarily getting people off the app and into the studio. So Hayden says, I'm a fine art photographer. Is your advice different if I don't want to get studio sessions? And Elizabeth is asking along the same lines, what if you're not interested in being a paid photographer, but you want people to just, see your pictures and comment good or bad on them?
Well, those are okay. Both of those things are great for you actually, because Instagram is going to be a little bit easier, honestly. So if you're a fine art photographer, I'm assuming what you're saying is that you're selling your prints perhaps online, which Instagram is great for that because you show your work and you drive them to your link in bio, hopefully, and they can easily go and work with you with one click. So if you don't have to get people off of Instagram, then hallelujah, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's going to be much easier for you. If you're just if you are, and I don't say just, there are some hobbyists out there that are award-winning and like doing incredible things. So if you are just wanting to get your work out into the world, Instagram is a beautiful way to do that because the strategy would be exactly the same. You are creating engagement. You are letting them get to know your art. And our art is very personal, right? Anyone who is a photographer, even if you don't believe it, even if you're photographing other people, we're artists, and it is something that's very personal to us. So it is a beautiful way to get to connect with your following. So it's exactly the same. I would encourage you to create engagement on your work.
Awesome. And have another question from Hayden. Would you advise posting in stories more or the feed more?
I don't ever give absolute advice like that because I don't think that there is a right answer there. So I would advise doing what is going to be doable for you. So remember I said make a plan and stick to it. So a lot of times people will say, oh my gosh. And the reels people's minds were like after reels came out, right? Because everyone was like, you have to do reels. You don't. You just have to pick what it is that feels good and feels on brand for you. I think stories are great. Stories are a much more informal, much more personal way for you to connect, your actual face to the client, to whoever it is that's looking. But I don't think that one is more important than the other. I do believe that both are good to use in tandem. For a lot of people who are new to Instagram, and I don't know this about you who asked that question, stories is very overwhelming. If you're not used to going direct to camera, it can really throw you off. So I always advise to start with the feed first, get a little more comfortable in there, and then move into stories. And stories doesn't have to be, for me, I use stories very, like I said, informal. I share things that are happening, like this class, for instance, I shared in stories. I share, of offerings that I have, but I also just go direct to camera and show people what I'm up to, show them my editing process, show them my, the new shoots that I just got back from all of that kind of stuff. So stories can be a lot more fun and a lot less pressure, I guess, because they go away in 24 hours. So.
Awesome. Michael, who's joining us in Zoom, has a question about photo sizes and ratios. So is there a certain size or photo ratio we should be posting to Instagram, 2x3, 4x5? He says, I posted tack sharp photos in the past, but they appear soft on Instagram.
So I'm not a super, I'm not a stickler on tech stuff. When people will say things like that, like, oh, I zoom in and it's not as sharp. Like, I don't know if it's just that I'm really type B and I don't notice that kind of stuff, but I don't change the dimensions or size when posting anywhere anymore. Again, back in the day, you did used to have to because it was really noticeably different. But right now, in my opinion, Facebook and Instagram do a really good job of compressing it in a way that isn't noticeable. That might be because but I do use full resolution photos, and I do that, or high resolution photos, and I do that via Later. So I don't resize them. And when you're posting on Later, or even when you're posting in the app, you can change the crop. So like it used to be that it was only square, but it'll now let you do a landscape photo, so you don't lose any of the detail.
Awesome.
Or any of the crop, I guess.
We have Bhavesh on Facebook voicing a little bit of frustrations. He says, I try to engage on Instagram, but I find a lot of them don't engage back. I try, and now they can't even be bothered to like my posts. Do you have any? Yeah.
What I would say if that's happening is I would take a look at what it is that you are sharing and why it is that it's not resonating with your community. Now, a lot of times when people start to be a little bit more meaningful with their Instagram interactions, they have this lull, and I say you have to be patient with the pivot, where people were showing up for reasons that weren't aligned with your business practices, and now you've changed a little bit, and so it takes a while to build up that following. So I don't know if you just changed a strategy maybe, and that's why. But I would say that if this was happening to me, whenever I have a low engaging post, I look at it and I say, okay, well, they obviously don't want to hear about this topic or this subject right now. That's not really resonating with them. So I'm gonna, change the way that I'm speaking to my community. I would make sure that you're being, a lot of times too, we're not really very clear on what it is that we do. A lot of new photographers, and I don't know if you're new, but a lot of new photographers are sort of like jack of all trades. They're doing birthday parties and weddings and cake smashes and newborn shoots and commercial photography and real estate photography. And so their feed is super, for lack of a better word, it's confusing. Somebody shows up there and they're like, I thought you were a newborn photographer and you just showed a picture of this architectural piece, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't go together. So they don't engage because they're a little bit confused. So I would say look at what you're saying, or look at your community and think of how you can connect with them, but also make sure that you're being really clear about what you do, so that when they're showing up, they know what they're going to get.
Thank you. And so Mimi asks, when would you recommend hiring a social media person, and how to promote when you're trying to promote your brand more than promoting yourself, since I have associate photographers?
Oh, congratulations. That's a huge thing. So my social media person, I do have a social media manager now. I've only been working with a social media manager for 6 months, and I've been in business 12 years. So whenever I talk about my team, I always want to give that caveat that all of this can be done as a one-woman shop, one-man shop, if that's how you roll. But when it's a good idea to hire a social media manager is when you feel like you no longer want to do that, and that there are other places that you could be moving the needle in your business where your time would be better spent. I handle all of my Instagram myself because it's very personal for me. So my social media manager actually manages Facebook and Pinterest. So I do Instagram all by myself. So when it's a good time, it has to be a good time financially, right? You have to be able to afford it because this is a business expense. But it's usually, you never know when you get to your point of burnout or overwhelm until you get there. And so if you're at a point where you're like, I do not have time to be posting on social media, I need help, then that's a good time to do it. And there are so many varying degrees of what social media managers do. Some actually write the copy for you, which mine doesn't. She just copies and pastes from other places. Some just do that, like I just said. I mean, it's vast. So
awesome, great advice.
That was kind of a confusing answer.
Now we have another question on Facebook. Do you have any tips for mom entrepreneurs struggling making their career as a photographer and balancing that with family time?
Greetings. I hope that you are part of my community because you are exactly who I educate, so welcome. I am such a mom with a camera. I started because of my 13-year-old when he was a baby. And what I would say is the number one thing that mom entrepreneurs do is that we don't give our business, or if it's just at this point you're still building your hobby to a business, we don't give it the respect and time that it deserves. So and I'm making a sweeping generalization, but a lot of working dads, they're not, feeling guilty about going to work every day, right? But we do that as moms, especially creative entrepreneurs, because we do it from our dining room. So I'm very much like, writing emails while also eating breakfast with my kids sometimes. So what I would say is that the number one thing that you need to do is make sure that you're giving it the time and respect that it deserves. That might mean creating a schedule with your partner where you're like, okay, my work hours are, whatever work makes sense for your family, not, 4 to 6, or just, a couple hours a day, or actually getting a babysitter, because this is an actual job and you have to treat it as such if you want it to be successful. And a lot of moms are like working at nap time, and it's just unreasonable, right? And it's okay in the beginning when you're really trying to gain traction, but you will gain traction faster if you get the help that you need and deserve, and you respect your business in that way.
Awesome. Perfect. And we have a bunch more questions. They keep pouring in, so you're really resonating with people, it seems like.
Yay.
Sally is asking, what equipment do you use? Do you have complex lighting setups?
Oh, interesting. We're getting off of Instagram. So I actually, I don't own any lights. I am very simple. I don't even own a flash. I shoot with Canon only. I have a Mark IV 5D. I have a Mark III 5D that I just retired because I just got a brand new R5, so a mirrorless Canon camera. I am very minimal on the lenses that I like to use, though. I shoot mostly with a 35 and 50. I do have an 85 and 135 that I use when I want more of that portraity feel, but my work is a little more gritty, so I kind of like the shorter lenses better.
Perfect. All right, we have a question from Michelle. Have you noticed post timing changes in engagement and likes? Is there a best time of day now for posting?
So one of the coolest things about Later, actually, and this might be in the paid plan, so I don't know that, but is that it'll tell you when are better times to post each day. But, I'm gonna back on up and tell you that it doesn't actually matter anymore. So with the new, when before the algorithm, back in the days when it was chronological, you really did have to start think about like, okay, so my ideal client might be on the app more likely at noon, so I should probably be posting at noon because they're going to see it when you post it. Where now the algorithm just automatically cycles stuff in, so it doesn't really matter that much. Now some online educators, they give you all this like, you should make sure like my entrepreneur friends are on at noon and that's when I like to post. I don't like to advise stuff like that because I feel like getting that technical gets in the way of people just getting on there and doing it. So the truth of the matter is that with the algorithm's actually working in your favor because it's just cycling stuff at random times. So I don't think it really matters, honestly. I really don't. But you might start to notice that people, like you'll get, when you use Instagram a lot, in my full class, I say you have to become an Instagram scientist, where you will start to notice that like, oh, when I post at 4 p.m., I seem to get a little more engagement. Like you might start to notice that. But it's usually pretty subtle, honestly. It's more about the actual post being high quality and engaging than the time of day. Thinking about the time of day is getting back into that beat the algorithm mentality that I don't really think works. You just have to create engaging posts.
Yeah. Now, do you delete posts that don't get high engagement?
Nope. That does not hit, it's not a hit on you if it doesn't get high engagement. I don't. I've never, you could go back on my Instagram, like if you want to like, scroll and you'll see like posts from years ago, and you'll see my strategy has always been the same.
Perfect. We have a question from Fred here. If I do more than one type of photography, portraits and events, should I have separate accounts for each? I know you touched a little bit on this before.
Yes, this is such an, this is like, I have a mastermind and it's like, we talk about that in there a lot too, because there's this time when, you might be like, I don't know where you are in your business, but where your work feels different in different genres. Well, for me, and I give this presentation, not in this talk, but lots of times where I show that a picture of a boutique school photography photo that I've taken, a family photo that I've taken, a fresh 48 photo that I've taken, a newborn, a maternity photo, and they all feel the same. So even though they're different genres, and my fine art school portraits are like on a black background, so very much like studio-ish, right? But the sentiment behind my work is always the same. So my opinion is that your work should always feel the same. And so a really good brand, even if you have an event next to a family photo, it'll probably have the same feeling. That's just, my quick way to talk about branding, that branding is a lot more about the feeling behind your work than the actual what it looks like. I don't usually recommend having separate accounts because I feel like when people have separate accounts, they don't give them the attention they need. So Okay, sorry if that was a wishy-washy answer, but I feel like, again, what's more important is that you're actually showing up consistently with high quality work. The little minutia that we worry about mostly just gets in our way of actually using the app.
Yeah, definitely. Kristen asks, do you recommend watermarking images, or does that detract from the quality and turn potential followers or clients away?
So I think it would be generally thought that watermarking is dated. A lot of times when people see watermarking on social media or anywhere nowadays, they'll kind of think that that's a pretty antiquated way to uh, take ownership of your work. So I don't do it. I haven't watermarked in years. That is all a matter of preference. Watermarking does not protect you from someone stealing your work. It's not hard to get rid of a watermark, especially people who are just even like semi-skilled in Photoshop. The best way is to bake it into your metadata. That's a whole other class. I do that in Lightroom, but I don't want watermark. And I do feel like when I see watermarking, it looks a little, and I would love your opinion on this, Danny. Are you also a photographer? But it feels a little almost dated is the better best way.
I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Professional photographers don't watermark anymore. Even like Annie Leibovitz or like huge, big time photographers or some, we don't watermark anymore. So
Yeah, it definitely detracts from the photo, and it kind of takes your attention away from what you should be looking at.
exactly.
All right, so we have a couple more questions here on Facebook. Question about budgeting for Instagram. So how much budget are you spending on Instagram promotions for a single post if you do that?
Zero. I have never spent any money on marketing my portrait business. I do spend money on marketing my education business, and I'll tell you why these are very different strategies. Your portrait business only needs to reach like 100 people a year. My busiest year was 2019, and I don't even know how it happened that I did this many, 180 sessions. It was way too many. That was a lot of sessions. I don't have a studio, so like that was like a lot of moving around. People who have studios, one of my friends, Sandra Cohn, who is also a B&H educator, she, on her busiest years, she does do about 250, but that's only 250 people. That's not that many people. So what I find with with spending money on ads, unless you have a high end strategy, like to make an ad not just be wasting money and throwing it to Facebook, you have to have pixels set up on your website and all of these things that aren't really necessary when you're just trying to reach 100 people. So I actually don't pay for ads for my portrait business. I just focus on engaging content. Plain and simple. I don't think you need to. It usually brings in pretty cold audiences and people that aren't going to be really value your work as an artist. I have found.
That's great to know. And we have a question moving away from Instagram again. Rich is asking, I would love to hear your thoughts on the R5.
Okay. I am so not a gear dork. Like I don't get super excited about gear. This camera is bananas, for lack of better. I mean, it literally, a couple days ago, I shared in my stories, it's so fast that it's like stop motion. Like you literally can like stop every single, like this little girl was running across a field and it like caught her every movement, and the focus is incredible. And I like to shoot wide open. I shoot at like 2.0, 2.5 usually. And it's just like, it doesn't miss focus. I already gave big galleries. I'm giving like really, really big galleries right now because it doesn't take a bad picture. and I'm not a big gear person. Like I said, like I don't ever want someone to like feel like hindered by, needing new gear, but I hadn't upgraded in like 3 years and it was getting so much hype. And I had the Mark IV, which is the best in that class. So I couldn't go up there. It's amazing. It's
Awesome.
a beautiful, beautiful machine. Yeah.
Well, Elena, it looks like we covered all the questions that came in. Thank you so much for joining us, and you really made all this information really easily digestible, and we definitely appreciate that. So,
I hope to see you guys all over on Instagram on that post. I already saw a bunch of activity happening over there, so hopefully we'll see you guys over there. And thank you so much for having me, B&H. I hope to be back very soon.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you to all you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time at the B&H Virtual Event Space.